Okay, so why is finance important? Why are financial skills important in business? Well, it comes to the basic essence of the statement, my dear students, that without money, you can't do anything in life. Money is basically just another means by which people can judge or live the quality of life. Money is a means to an end. Money can make you happy. Money can keep you alive for you to buy food. It's the same with a business. For business needs to have money to start. It needs a source of income and it needs to have embedded financial strategy for that business to be able to grow and continue its survival. So, today we're going to look at what is business, and we're going to also take into account the possibilities of failure in business, ladies and gentlemen, because failure is by no means um, uh, something that doesn't happen. Failure does happen, and it does happen to businesses all over the world. And these are businesses that started strong, but unfortunately, they're unable to maintain because they don't have proper financial management strategy. Can you see my screen, Eugenia? Yes or no? Okay, one moment, Eugenia. One moment, please. One moment, Eugenia. Can you see my screen now, Eugenia? Okay, very good. So, business failure is all about finance strategies that are lacking. And what do we mean by lacking? That means businesses that don't have the proper rules or the proper processes to manage their finances. And that usually leads to businesses suffering severe consequences. This could mean running out of cash, not having enough money to pay salaries or electricity bills. That means they could have invested in over purchase of stock, which is in the warehouse and has expired its use by date, and an inability to maintain financial obligations and run the business. And what would usually happen as a result of this is they would end up in financial insolvency or bankruptcy. They would lose credibility, they would damage their credit rating, and the business would close. Okay, all right. So if we can go on, what you can see now, Eugenia, is a diagram. Is that right? Okay. So basically, business challenges that are faced in running a business are very simple. Most people that run their business for the first time face some basic challenges. And these basic challenges are usually very simple. They're so simple that people don't realize how simple they are to ignore. The first one is managing cash flow. The second one is planning a budget and forecasting how much their income and expenditure will be to make sure they hold a cash reserve. And thirdly, being able to analyze risk based on the current economy or the current market in the country they're operating in. For example, if Eugenia was running her own restaurant and decided to buy new uniforms for her team, she'd have to ask herself whether she has enough money to pay salaries, which are more important than new uniforms. So, being able to manage risk and understand the risk before you spend money on the business is a critical element of today's lesson. Okay, so let's go on, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about here today is business failure. And we're going to define what business failure is, Eugenia. As you can see, just one moment, please. Okay, as you can see, business failure can be a very harsh reality when smart finance strategies are lacking in a business. Now, you should, if you've all run a business or run your own business, Eugenia, Susanna, Jackie, Jean Claire, anybody who's run their own business would know that business requires cash. You have salaries to pay. Everybody has salaries to pay. You have to pay for electricity. You have to pay for stock. You have to pay, expenses, rental. All of these are critical, Mary Lynn. So the actual failures could be cash flow shortages, which lead to insolvency and bankruptcy. It could be that you make poor financial decisions, which result in huge losses, Mary Lynn, and one of those simple incorrect decisions could be to overinvest in stock because some manufacturer in China told you he has an MOQ of 50,000 units at $2 each. So if you buy 50,000 pieces at $2 each, that means you spent $100,000, right? So 50,000 times one is $50,000, times two is $100,000 per unit. Because each unit is worth $2. So 50,000 units means you have to pay $100,000 to get 50,000 units. Now, if you liquidate your bank of $50,000 and you only have $51,000 in the bank, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You're taking a major financial risk and you're not planning correctly to keep the business floating. You need to buy stock based on what you can afford without basically emptying out your bank account. If one supplier doesn't want to give you 1,000 pieces, or he doesn't want to give you 2,000 pieces or 10,000 pieces, then you need to look for another supplier. But you definitely don't buy 50,000 pieces and have your business have no cash reserves and unable to continue. Inability to invest in growth opportunities means you don't have money to grow your business during a period that means there is a potential market out there. For example, if you were doing business before COVID-19 and you did not have a website and you needed to develop a website to have an online business during COVID-19, but had no money to do that, you would basically have gone out of business like hundreds of thousands of other businesses who failed at the beginning of COVID-19 because they weren't prepared. They didn't have a website. They didn't have an online market and they didn't have the money to do it. If you don't have proper financial planning for the business, you will not be able to get loans, service your loans, or pay taxes. Now, for a business that doesn't have a cash flow and is constantly running out of money, that will also cause you a problem when you go to get money from investors because it will reduce your business's reputation and credibility with the banks who may want to lend you money or with private investors who may want to lend you money. And the most important part here, it's going to put the owner or the person running the business under an extreme level of stress, which may mean that they're unable to think clearly and run the business properly. Do you understand that, Cho Cho? Thank you. Okay, do you understand that, Rosalie? Vernalyn, you need to switch on your camera and look at the camera, Vernalyn. If I don't see your face, you're absent. Look at the camera, please. Okay? All right. So remember, guys, all of these are factors which come from a business failure to actually have proper financial strategies in place. Okay, as you can see, Eugenia, business success through smart finance is achieved when companies leverage financial data and strategies. Can you see it, Eugenia? Okay, just one moment. Let me fix this. Just one moment, please. Now, Eugenia? Okay, thank you. Business success through smart finance is achieved when companies leverage financial data and strategies. So that means that you can have a successful business and the business can be profitable provided you have the correct skills to make correct financial decisions and manage the risk of losing money or overspending money to drive your business growth. So you should only buy stock that you can sell rather than put all your money into a warehouse. By implementing effective financial planning, which means cost management, investment decisions, measuring risk, you can keep the business afloat and you can stay competitive. So, in basic terms, by enabling smart finance, you enable your company to get through the very difficult financial landscape in today's world. It will allow you to capitalize on opportunities and build long-term sustainability. It will allow you to have enough cash to invest in the right product at the right time rather than buying dead meat products that will go to sleep in your warehouse and they could have been cash in the bank. All right, so let's look at the diagram now. Okay. All right, Eugenia, can you see the diagram? Good. Okay. So as it says, business success through smart finance requires one, an ability to budget and have a system of financial planning in place. Number two is to effectively manage your cash flow. And number three is to understand key financial metrics. Now, if I ask you all, what do we mean by budgeting and financial planning? Well, it's a very straightforward question. And if I asked any of you now, you could give me your own definition. But I want to give you the proper academic definition. Nan, Maria, Angel, and the proper academic definition would be is to have a budgeting process and a budget on paper of how much you need to operate the business from month to month and how you plan to sell your products or services. What is the cost? What is the markup? How much profit do you make? And will you be able to generate enough revenue every month to actually cover your expenses? That's why budgeting and financial planning are essential. So let's read through these, Eugenia. The first one says, Eugenia, set clear financial goals and priorities, correct? Okay, good. All right. The second one, guys, is to allocate resources effectively. What do we mean by that? So if you have a $500,000 in the bank, you don't put the $500,000 into buying stock. You only put $120,000 into buying stock and you hold money in the bank, depending on what stock you're buying. If you're buying cars and you have a car showroom, well, obviously you can't buy one or two, you have to buy five or 10. So you may have to spend probably close to $500,000. Okay? It depends on the type of stock you're carrying and how much warehouse space you have and what the cost of that stock is. It would also depend on your forecast of how much you can sell and what price it sells at. You need to allocate your money, your cash reserves in the bank and only spend them based on correct budgeting. Don't overcarry stock. Don't overspend on rent. Do not employ too many people or overspend on your manpower budget. You need to track performance of how much you're spending, how much you're selling, and whether the profit margin is correct to cover your expenses. So all this comes down to two basic policies or principles. You need to make informed decisions about investments and your expenses. You need to anticipate and manage financial risks. You need to know what the risks are and you need to be able to manage them. For example, every time you employ someone, you have to pay them salary at the end of the month. If you can't afford that, you shouldn't employ people. If you rent office space, you have to pay rent. Do not rent office space that you can't afford, because if the landlord throws you out, that will damage your business reputation. Do you all understand that, guys? Can you wave your hand? Maria, Eugenia, Zunza, Nihong, Jackie, can everybody wave their hands, please? Go ahead. Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk now about what is capital budgeting. All right, what is capital budgeting? I'm sure Eugenia can see this, right, Eugenia? Very good. Eugenia, if you can't see, just give me thumbs down. All right, mate? Okay. All right, so capital budgeting, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the processes in managing your finances effectively and what we call smart. Capital budgeting is the process of evaluating and choosing which long-term investment projects or major capital expenditures you spend money on. For example, do you have to buy your own building or own warehouse, or is it cheaper to rent? Remember, capital expenditure is different to operational expenditure. Okay? Operational expenses are significant financial commitments. Okay? All right? Like salaries, electricity, operating cost, and rent. They're operating costs. You need to pay those every month. However, capital budget, capital expenditure is also bigger than operational expenses because capital expenditure may mean millions of dollars buying a building instead of renting it. Major capital expenditure could mean investing in equipment, electronic equipment, machines, or robots to run your factory. So, capital budget is usually dealing with a lot more money than your normal operating budget. However, by investing in capital equipment or capital as far as buildings, you're building your business's assets. And in the meantime, you're reducing operational expenses because if you own the building and you fully paid for it, you don't have to pay rent. You don't have to pay a bank loan. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? The main objective is to determine whether the potential returns of a project justify initial investment, helping organizations allocate resources wisely. So you need to ask yourself, if I'm starting a business selling food, do I need to buy a building to sell the food, or can I just rent a shop space, turn it into a restaurant till I find out whether my restaurant is going to become successful enough? Do I really need to own the building? No. Okay, if I open a restaurant and I'm selling pizza, do I need to invest in a pizza oven? Yes, that's capital expenditure. You need to buy equipment because without that pizza oven, you can't run a pizza shop and generate income. A pizza shop not only needs a pizza oven, it needs a machine to mix dough. It needs fermenting cabinets that keep the dough to ferment and basically mature before you can use it for pizza. You need refrigeration and freezers and walk-in coolers to keep all the materials for your pizza. All of these equipment can become a capital expenditure. Now, if you don't have the money to buy the equipment and you just lease it, then it becomes a monthly leasing arrangement and it becomes an operational expense monthly. Of course, if you can afford to buy it and capitalize it as an asset, as equipment or building, it's going to reduce your monthly operational expenses. Okay, so remember, it's important for you as a manager or owner to consider how much cash you expect to generate from your business a month, a quarter, half yearly, and yearly. And you need to measure that against your costs and expenses. Because if you can't generate enough to cover your expenses and costs, that means that your business won't survive. And that means that you're paying too much cost price for the goods or service, and you're not selling it with a high enough margin to become profitable. Okay, so let's go on and look at the last sentence there. It says, this structured approach allows businesses to identify which projects are worth pursuing and which should be avoided. What do I mean by this? You should be able to decide whether it's worth buying this machine or not. Should I buy the building or not? All of this can be done through proper capital budgeting. Okay, in practical terms, capital budgeting helps answer very strategic questions. Okay, and let me give you an example as you can see on your screens. Should an automaker build its own electrical vehicle plant or acquire specialized EV, electrical vehicle manufacturing company, they would have to spend billions of dollars to build their own factory with a production line to build electric cars because electric cars require different technology to normal petrol, oil operated cars. So, should I invest in building an EV car plant? Is there enough market to sell EV cars in the markets that I sell my cars in? Okay, if you're a car yard dealer, should I bring in electric cars and put them on my showroom floor? Is there customers in my country that are prepared to invest in electric cars? Do they have charging equipment at petrol stations? Or am I taking a risk because the market I'm in is not ready for that product? Okay, so when we look at this, the financial concepts underpin capital budgeting, opportunity cost, and the time value of money. What do I mean by these? Capital budgeting is by being able to analyze how much money you can set aside to turn into asset investments and buy machinery or buildings. Opportunity cost at the time and value is important because you have to wonder whether it's the right time to actually drain your financial resources into a building. Is it the right time to buy it at the right cost, or is it better for you to rent for now? Okay, so you need to consider both of these factors. Okay, and opportunity costs usually reflects what are the benefits that you will reap by choosing to make this capital investment. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, is there a young lady here looking for a boyfriend? Put your hand up if you're looking for a boyfriend. Anyone? Come on, help me out here. Bianca, are you looking for a boyfriend? No? Okay. Hypothetically, if you were to look for a boyfriend, Bianca, hypothetically, okay, and Bianca has to decide whether she's going to spend $1,000 from her hard savings as a capital investment to catch this boyfriend, because this boyfriend is Korean, he's very fussy, and if she wants him to fall in love with her, she's going to have to buy new dresses, new shoes, new hairstyle, new glasses. He doesn't like anything about the way she dresses now. She has to modernize her wardrobe. And he only likes her to wear designer clothing. Now, this is the capital investment question that Bianca will have to make. Do I love him enough to invest $1,000 in my wardrobe, or would I prefer to keep the $1,000 in my pocket? Bianca would rather keep the $1,000. Now, well, she might say, if he really loves me, he'll love me anyway. But in his mind, oh no, I want a girl with this. So I guess Bianca doesn't get a boyfriend. She goes and finds another boyfriend. So this is just a simple example of capital budgeting. You have to look at the opportunity cost. Is Bianca prepared to take the risk with $1,000? Or is she prepared to let go of the opportunity of catching this Korean boy and focusing on something else? Thank you for allowing me to use that as an example, Bianca. Thank you so much, gorgeous. All right, does everybody understand the example? Do you understand it, Eugenia? Very good, Eugenia. Are you looking for a boyfriend, Eugenia? Okay, all right. Okay, is anybody looking for a boyfriend? Come on, help me here. Anyone? No one? Oh my God, you're all good girls. You're all very good girls. Okay, very good. Okay, it's the same when you're looking to give up your job, Nur or Sanda or Noredi. If you're looking to give up your job and make a capital investment into buying somebody else's business, you have to evaluate. Hold on. Right now, I work. I earn 1,000 US dollars a month, 12,000 US dollars a year. I have $10,000 in the bank. If I want to buy the restaurant run by Sanda, she's asking me to give her $9,000. Am I prepared to spare $9,000 out of my savings? And if I buy it for now $9,000, do I have the money to open the restaurant, to furnish it, to paint it, to renovate it, to buy equipment, to employ staff? Do I have enough money to do that? Can I afford to do it and give up my full-time job to run the restaurant? Or am I going to need to employ people to run the restaurant? All of these are opportunity costs that you need to consider before you make a capital investment and decide to buy a business, which is a capital investment. You need to ask yourself, can I afford it? And even if I have money saved up now, do I have enough money to operate it? Do you all understand this? Can you wave your hands, please? Very good. Okay. All right. So example of capital budgeting in action. All right. Can everybody see my example? Very good. Let's talk about the example. Suppose a company is thinking about purchasing a new machine. Write it down, everybody. Come on, get your pen and paper. Write it down. Okay, you're thinking of buying a new machine that costs 100,000 US dollars. Okay, let's talk about this realistically in simple English so you all understand it because it's not difficult at all. You're all very smart people. Okay, okay. Now, the machine is expected to bring $30,000 of income per year for the next 5 years. 30 times 5 is, okay, 3 times 5 is 15. So 30 times 5 is $150,000, right? Okay. Calculate total cash inflows. 30,000 a year times 5 years is $150,000. How do we establish the net gain on that investment? Total inflows. Initial investment is 150,000 minus the 100,000, which is what we spent on the machine. It leaves us with $50,000. Since the total cash inflow exceeds the initial investment, the project appears profitable. How do we know that? Because once you've spent the $100,000, after that, over the next 5 years, you're going to generate $30,000 a year. So over 5 years, you would have recouped your 100,000 and actually became more profitable with 150,000 in the 5th year. Since the total cash inflow exceeds the initial investment, the project appears possible and profitable. But in real life, managers would also consider time value of money. For example, Future cash inflows are worth less than cash today, so we discount them. And this is done to account for inflation and other factors. Okay, so let me talk you through this. Here we go. Just give me a moment, would you guys? Okay, so what this means is risks or time value for money. What if the machine breaks down or sales fall? If it breaks down, do you have someone to fix it? Is the cost of repairing within reach? Are there parts available? If sales fall, can the machine make more than one product so that you can create a new product? Opportunity cost. Could the money be used more profitably on buying a different machine or on investing in something else? So I need you to remember these principles. Calculate total cash inflow, determine the net gain, take into account time value of money, take into account the risks, and take into account the opportunity cost. Do you all understand this, guys? Eugenia? Yes? Okay, let's me go back to the boyfriend opportunity. The opportunity cost here is if you don't go for the Korean boyfriend who you need to invest $1,000 in order to secure him, but you chose to go for a local guy from your country, and the investment cost to make him happy is only $100 because he doesn't expect anything fancy. He likes you for what you are. You need to ask about future opportunity cost, right? Now, come on, some of you have to think. What do I mean by future opportunity cost, Eugenia? Can he generate enough income so I can enjoy the lifestyle I want? Is he a farmer? Does he earn $20 a month or does he earn $300 a month? If he earns $300 a month and I only expect $100, well, he's the right investment, I guess. But if he only earns 30 US dollars a month and he has to give half of it to his mama and papa because he's mummy's boy, that means he only has $15 to invest in his relationship with you. Is he worth the investment? No. Do you understand what I mean by opportunity cost, everyone? Yes or no? Do you understand that, A.A. Moe? Very good. Excellent. Okay, guys, let's go on. Okay, so as we keep going through this lesson, okay, let's talk about what we say as capital budgeting involves significant long-term investments and each decision can have a lasting impact on the company, okay? And these are basically all about selecting the most profitable projects. Okay, guys? All right? Eugenia? Okay. The first one is organizations often encounter multiple potential investment opportunities. Well, this is interesting. Let's go back to the boyfriend example. Here we go again. Eugenia started a new job in an American company. On the first week, an American guy's looking at her. On the second week, his boss, who's also Eugenia's boss, is also looking at her. And then 2 weeks later, the executive vice president, her boss's boss, passes by Eugenia's desk, winks his eyes, and says, "Would you like to come out for coffee with me?" He's also interested in her. She's got three to choose from, three investment opportunities. She has to calculate which one is going to bring the better return in the future. Right or wrong? Knowing Eugenia, she's not an easy girl, probably, just hypothetically. She probably expects to have a car. She probably expects to have a maid to help her with the house. She probably expects her husband to buy her a diamond ring every anniversary. She probably expects him to buy her perfume every week. and she probably expects to have someone help her do the cooking so she can go to the manicure boutique every week and have her nails done, have her hair done, and look beautiful for her husband. All right? But hypothetically, right? So all of these are elements that Eugenia would have to consider in deciding opportunity cost. Do you understand that, everyone? Hypothetically, yes or no? Okay, good. So potential investments, she has a potential of 3 future boyfriends, husbands. However, due to her limited capital, she has to decide which one is the better one for her to invest in. Which one is the sure thing that will be able to afford her and meet her requirements. Lastly, the focus is on choosing investment that offer the highest returns relative to their risks, ensuring long-term financial growth. Well, this is an interesting question. Eugenia is going to ask me, well, hold on, Mr. Wally, what is the long-term financial growth in a husband? Very simple, Eugenia. He has to pay for the house and the expenses to save you from working, right? Yes or no? Okay, good. Does everybody understand what I mean by that when you apply it to a real business? Yes or no? Do you understand that, Ni Hong? Very good, Ni. Okay, who have I got here? Miami, Colonia, do you understand what I'm explaining, young lady? Very good. Miani wants to invest in a new washing machine. The poor girl's doing her laundry. But before she buys a washing machine and says, well, you know what? I need a washing machine that will wash, dry, and iron the clothes. So I pull them out and put them in the wardrobe. But to buy that washing machine, she needs 2,000 US dollars. She's only got 1,500 US dollars in the bank. If she puts that $1,500 into the washing machine and her husband only earns $100 a month, is she going to build her savings back? No, it's going to take her 15 years. So she might as well stick with the old washing machine and iron, right? Am I right, Miami? Very good. Excellent. We all understand that. Okay. Does anybody not understand what I mean by capital budgeting? Everybody understands it? Yes or no? Guys, you guys are really good students today. I don't know why, but no one's asking me questions, and I'm starting to worry because usually you put up your hands and you always say, but today everybody understands. It means I'm doing a good job. Okay. All right, let's go on. Okay. Next part we're going to look at, guys, is controlling capital expenditure. Controlling capital expenditure. What do we mean by controlling the capital expenditure? While profitability is crucial, you have to manage the cost. Capital budgeting aims to control capital expenditure by focusing on the requirements and planning and monitoring it. Rather than doing it all now, you do it over 2 or 3 years. Well, I don't know if that's possible with a husband unless you want to change him every year. I don't think that's a good idea, Eugenia. I think you better make a good investment and get the right one the first time around. However, if you're going to invest in a car or a building, it is possible to buy a cheaper model and upgrade later. Okay? All right. So the second one is finding the right source of funds. Okay, so if you have $100,000 in the bank and you're starting a restaurant, you know that you need to pay $1,000 a month in rent. For 1 year, you need $12,000. You're going to employ a chef at $2,000 a month. You need $24,000. 24 plus 12 is 36,000. Already you need to put aside to cover the first year. You need to buy equipment and build a kitchen. It's a one-off investment of 25,000. So you have 36 plus 25, you have 61,000 spent. You now only have $39,000 left in the bank to run the business. So you have to decide whether you're prepared to pay for it yourself or whether you're going to actually borrow money from the bank for the equipment and keep more money to pay your monthly expenditures. Now, of course, this would depend on whether you have any business proven record to borrow money. If you don't have a proven business record, you may not be able to borrow money. So you may have to borrow from friends or family. Or you may have to reconsider whether you renovate the restaurant or take over an existing restaurant and operate it without renovating it. Remember, by having the correct finance structure, borrowing money at the lowest cost, you're able to maximize profitability. You need to minimize the risk. Can anybody tell me, what do I mean by minimize the risk? Is that to keep the risk low or to make it higher? If you think it's to keep it low, show me your hand down. Come on. Who thinks minimizing risk is to keep it low? Eugenia, minimizing risk is to keep it low. Is that right? Okay. Do you understand that, Ni Hong? Okay, Ni, very good. Do you understand that, Yuli? Yuli, do you understand? Thank you. Hannah, do you understand that, Hannah? Very good. Okay, let's go on. So you need to look at long-term focus, okay? Before we look at long-term focus, you need to ensure, just to go back, you need to ensure that when you minimize the risk, it also fits in with your strategic alignment or future, okay? And what do we mean by that? Because you need to understand that when you open a restaurant, you want to use that restaurant to produce an income. You're giving up your full-time job. So you need to make sure that this investment will be able to produce an income for you to replace your salary, which you no longer get because you gave up your job to start your own restaurant. Does everybody understand this? Yes or no? Very good. So long-term focus is really important, and you can only do that by capital budgeting. Unlike routine operational expenses, these capital projects, such as constructing a new manufacturing plant, buying major equipment, buying a building, renovating or upgrading technology, is something that's going to help your business grow, not only now, but in the future. So, in order for you to make the right capital budget decision and to be able to measure its success and opportunity long term, you need to have a budget for your business. You need to forecast your income, your revenue, and your profit over the next 5 years before you can make a capital budget that means anything. Okay, large capital outlay. Before you outlay a large amount of money, you need to make sure, again, that you're going to get the right return on that. And you need to make sure that whatever you're investing in is worth that. If you're buying a building, you've had it valued. If you're investing in a franchise, you've seen a track record for that franchise operation. Projects evaluated under capital budgeting typically require substantial amounts of money. These are not small expenses, but significant investments in the company's overall position. Remember, whenever you decide to buy your own building, buy your own machine, or invest $1 million in technology in robots in your warehouse, this is a long-term business investment. And before you make that, you must be sure that you've looked at all the risks, all the uncertainties. What happens if business drops? Can I still make the loan repayments? What happens if the machine breaks down? Can I afford to get it fixed? Do you all understand this? Yes or no? Can you put your hands up? Okay. All right, the next part is irreversibility of decisions. Well, this is a very, very difficult one. And I'm afraid to use the boyfriend example because I don't want you guys to get the wrong picture, but I'll try anyway, and I'll say it very nicely. So, any of you decide to make an investment and invest in the guy. Eugenia chooses the most expensive guy, the executive vice president that invited her out to dinner. Very high maintenance, right? He wears suits. He's American. He loves wine and beer. So does Eugenia. Okay. Now, 6 months down the line, he got fired. Why? Because he was the head of sales and the market dropped and the company said that he wasn't good enough to build it again and they fired him. Is he still going to be able to afford the house, the lifestyle, and the expenses that Eugenia requires or for their marriage to succeed? Probably not. Probably he'll try and then he'll decide, oh, I'm going back to America. Now, here becomes the irreversibility of the decision. Can Eugenia suddenly decide, I don't want him anymore, let him go? Just dump him, I'll find someone else? What does she get out of it if she dumps him? Does she get to keep the house or is he going to sell it and take his money with him? So, for every capital investment you make, you have to also realize that if you have to go backwards, what are the consequences? Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? If you buy a building and the business fails, you can rent it out or sell it. If you buy a machine and you don't need it, you can sell it to somebody else to use. It has scrap value. But if you marry someone and they become unemployed and no hope for you, no future, where's the return on your investment? You ask yourself the logical question, huh? I know it sounds cruel, but it's reality, right? Yes or no? Yes or no? Put your hands up. Come on. Very good. Excellent. Very good. So, even though you should take irreversibility of decisions into your mind, you should not let them hinder your decision because it's unlikely that they'll happen, but you need to keep them in mind. You should always focus on cash flow. Before you make any capital investment decision, you need to know how much cash your business brings in every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year. So you have a benchmark to know whether you're generating enough cash. Let me give you an example. I know a friend who buys mobile top-up. This friend lives in another country, and for some reason, he doesn't have a phone where he pays the bill every month. He likes to top it up and have prepaid, but he doesn't like going to the shop, which is 10 minutes away from his house. So he messages the shop. He says, top up my card, and on when I get my salary, I'll pass by and pay you. And this shop used to do it. For 5 years, they've been doing it. But suddenly, the shop owner said, sorry, I can't do it anymore because business is really bad. And when I top up for you for a month, you have a $300 bill and I need $300 to pay the phone company so I can top up for other companies. I can't do it anymore. So the phone shop was telling the customer that because their cash flow was low, they could no longer service the customer's requirements. Why was the phone shop's customer cash flow low? Because recently he spent $25,000 renovating his shop, putting in new computer systems, and now he doesn't have enough cash to buy enough stock to be able to top up his customers' mobiles without asking for cash up front. Do you understand what I mean by cash flow? Yes or no? Okay, so the features of capital budgeting. You need a capital budget in order to determine a long-term financial strategy for your business. It's critical. Otherwise, your long-term growth might be limited and your corporate lifespan may be between 5 and 7 years. The average life of a company today, ladies and gentlemen, in corporates, based on corporate academia or the study of corporate entities, is basically between 5 to 7 years, provided they have products or services that customers need. After 5 to 7 years, unless they have the right financial liquidity to invest in research, development, manufacturing, and sales of new products, and unless they have the budget to grow, whether technology-wise or product-wise, they will go out of business. Most companies that clock 7 years are companies who have new ideas, they have a proper financial strategy in place, and they have used capital budgeting since day one. Okay? Incorporate key financial concepts. Okay? And they are time value for money. Okay? Time value of money ensures that future cash flows are discounted to reflect their present value. So in future, if you earn $10,000 today, that $10,000 5 years from now may no longer provide you the same buying power. What costs you $10,000 today may cost you $10,200 5 years down the line because of inflation. Do you understand that, everyone? Yes or no? Yes or no? Okay, good. Help prioritize investments. Capital budgeting will allow you to prioritize your investments by knowing which investment you need to make now, which one you need to delay, and which of them you need to make in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Okay, you should never jump and just invest in everything simply because it's the right price. It not only has to become the right price, it has to have the right opportunity to generate the right income. Otherwise, your business will go out of business. Okay, so there is some information here about how capital budgeting works. All right, so let's talk about it. As you can see on the slides, Eugenia, capital budgeting is a structured process that helps businesses make informed decisions about long-term investments. So, how does this work? Step by step. One, capital budget process typically follows a series of steps. Identify potential investments. Okay, number two, collect the relevant data, calculate the estimated cost, the estimated revenue, potential risks, and then do a detailed evaluation using financial models like net present value, internal rate of return, or payback period. Now, what are these? I'll give you these formulas. You need to understand what they are. But if you don't know how to use them, you can always ask Wally to help you, or you can refer to an accountant. I know some of you are not accountants, but as business people, you should know what they mean and look for this equation before you make an investment decision. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Very good. Let's look at an example of this, okay? Let's look at an example. For example, manufacturing firm considering a new production line would start by estimating how much the equipment costs, the expected increase in production, and how much money that would bring, the potential market demand for its products. By analyzing these factors, managers can determine whether the investment will generate sufficient returns. They need to estimate the costs, the revenues, and the risks. Okay, so they need to make projections of how much the product is going to cost, what's the cost of the goods sold, how many sales can they make in the markets that they're in, okay? How much is the initial capital they need to start the business and get the product into stock? What are their estimated operating expenses and maintenance if they need maintenance to their factories or machines? Now, how can they estimate their revenue? By basing it on the market and market research and based on sales trends from competitors who sell the same goods or services. They should also take into account the cost of raw materials. If raw materials are going up, the cost of goods will go up, and therefore the selling price has to go up. They also have to consider how much room do they have to increase prices in order to still be able to generate the same amount of money and keep the business going. And they can only do this once they know what their competitor does, how much he sells, or estimate how big is the market, and measuring their sales over the first, second year, etc., to be able to project the next 5 years. They can also make educated assumptions, but that has to be based on what the industry or their competitors have done. Now, we talked about discounting cash flow and discounting the cash flow analysis. What do I mean by that? I gave you an example earlier. One of the key aspects, capital budgeting, is the time value for money. Future cash inflows and outflows are discounted to their present value to accurately assess the project's worth. So what you need to do is you need to take 100,000 earned 5 years from now and calculate what it will buy you today. All right. And then make your forecast accordingly, taking into account every year there'll be an increase in the cost of living and inflation of probably 3 to 5%. So you need to take all this into consideration. Does everybody understand that? Can you put up your hands? Very good. Okay, decision making based on profitability and strategic alignment. All decisions have to be based on the profit, on what is your projected revenue after expenses. Revenue is 100,000, your expenses are 98,000, your projected profit is 2,000, you might as well close your doors. So you should always look at what is your projected profitability each year. A project may be financially attractive, but it might not align with long-term business objectives, such as starting a branch in a new country. Okay, because right now that country may look attractive, but the cost of living or inflation could be growing in that country, and eventually that country is not going to be able to actually meet your costs and profit. Because if that country's cost of living is going up and inflation is going up, that means you're going to have to pay more for raw material, more for rental, etc., and that's going to eat away into your profitability. So if we can leave you with this statement, is that capital budgeting ensures that only projects that meet both financial success, financial requirements, and strategic criteria should be approved, maximizing your return on investment and business growth. All right, so factors affecting capital budget are the size of the investment, the expected returns, the risk and uncertainty, the cost of the money if you have to borrow it, and the strategic fit. Do you really need your own factory, or is it cheaper to have it produced in another factory? Do you really need to buy your own building, or is it cheaper to rent the building based on your current operating model? You need to take into account regulatory rules, laws, and the environment in which you operate. You need to look at the market conditions in which you operate, and you need to take into account technological advances and technological changes. Does everybody understand what I mean by technology? What do I mean by technology? Who can tell me? What do I mean by technological changes? Can anyone tell me? Come on, somebody talk to me. I want to see some of these 200, 300 people talk to me. Okay, who have we got here? Um, Sanda, can you tell me what I mean by technical advancements? Sanda, come on, who wants to talk to me? Open your microphone. Anybody want to put their hands up and talk to Wally? Come on, guys. Okay, let's call on Bianca. Bianca, can you open your microphone, Bianca? What do you think technological advancements means, Bianca?
For me, sir, technological advancement is about making life easier where you can connect. It's about like uh, from from small things like from small messages from Nokia to iPhone today is technological advancement and from what you can do from little things to bigger things.
Okay.
From machine, from doing it by hand to making it by machine. It's about technological advance.
Good. Excellent, Bianca. Good. Bianca just gave a very good example. She said people used to use um uh older phone like a Nokia. Now they use iPhone. iPhone is more expensive because of the technological advancements or the technology in an iPhone. Very good, Bianca. But let me talk about this on a commercial scale. If you produce goods in a factory and the factory is operated by people, the cost of production is higher. However, if that factory invests in robots and artificial intelligence, your cost of production will go down. However, the capital investment to buy that technology is something the business has to be ready for. Does everybody understand what I mean by technological advancements? Yes or no? Okay, good. Let's go back to our lesson. Okay, can you see my slide again, Eugenia? Okay. Okay, all right. Can you see my slide again, everyone? Can you wave your hands? Very good. Okay. So regulatory environment, that is regulations in the country you're operating in. For example, if you invested in selling e-cigarettes or vaporizers in Singapore, it was good business until the Singapore government made it illegal and banned that product. So, therefore, if you don't know the regulatory environment and invest, you could end up losing your money. Okay, market conditions. Can the market handle your product? Can people afford it? Or people in that country earning low income, paying very high prices for fuel, rent, and electricity, which lowers their spending and therefore could affect them buying your product. So you have to look at all the different market conditions, especially the economic conditions. And as I said, technological changes, as I just explained. Okay, guys, let's go on. The next one here is social and environmental responsibilities. You have to understand that in today's world, social and environmental factors are very important. People have gone from being people who used to buy drinks and use a straw, go to the supermarket and expect to be given paper bags or plastic bags. Now people are very much environmentally focused. They bring their own bag to the supermarket. They are okay by not getting a plastic straw because today's generation are much more caring about protecting the environment. So all of these things, social, environmental factors, as well as market factors, which we mentioned before, economic factors, people's earnings, people's ability to spend money, the amount of money they'll have as disposable income after they paid their bills. And last but not least, internal factors, your own company's financial stability. Do you have enough money to pay salaries? Do you have money to grow your operational capacity and meet market demands? Do you have enough money to develop ongoing products and keep your customers hungry for your products? Companies that are successful need to measure their own strengths and limitations on a regular basis to make sure that they are on track. This is very important. That's why companies usually report their financials every year in order to be able to look at their overall financial statement and know whether the company is viable and how much they've made this year and be able to come up with the right projections for next year and also understand what they have to do next year to improve revenue. Okay, so capital budgeting process, if we simplify it, and this is something you can use to remember the process. One is identifying the right investment opportunities. Two, evaluating feasibility and cash flow projections. Number three, estimating the cost and the return on your investment. Number four, applying capital budgeting methods that we've spoken about. Number five, choosing the best investment option out of all the options that you've considered. And you should always analyze more than one option before you make the decision. You should not just rely on one option. You should analyze two or three options before you make the decision. Okay, and then implementation and monitoring to make sure that it works. Okay, so let's talk about now the next stage. The next stage is capital budgeting process. Okay, so let's talk about that as we just saw in the diagram. Number one, the first step involves gathering ideas, proposals for potential investments, and you need to actually get these from your research and development department, or if you are the owner, based on what you've researched and what information you've got. Usually, companies use a standardized process where they look at the product, the market, the quality of the product, where it's produced, what makes that product better than the other product. And basically, you have to collect a standardized set of information about one, two, or three different competitors before you decide and invest to buy that competitor. But if you're buying a machine, again, you'd have to compare four or five different machines, what they can do, why one is better than the other, what's the cost of maintenance, etc., before you decide on the right one to invest in. You need to evaluate the feasibility of buying it, whether you can afford it, and what your cash flow projections are as to whether you think the business on paper, based on projections, will generate enough money over the next 4 or 5 years to keep paying for this investment. Just one moment, please. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Yes or no? Okay. All right. So evaluating evaluating feasibility and cash flow projections is a critical step that you must take. Okay. Next one is you have to basically, ladies and gentlemen, establish an estimate of what your costs are going to be and how much are the returns as a result of your investment. And in this stage, you calculate the total cost of the project, including the initial outlay, operating expenses, and ongoing maintenance. At the same time, you calculate expected revenues and cash inflows, and you take the expenses less your income, and that will tell you whether you're going to be profitable or not. Applying capital budgeting methods, which we've just learnt. So you need to remember to take into account net present value, internal rate of return, and the payback period. Okay, now remember, when I say profitability index or accounting rate of return, again, this is to show you about whether it's beneficial that you'll be able to get the return in time. Because if the return is going to take you 20 years and you could have used that money for something else over 20 years, then obviously the accounting rate of return will be negative. It won't be favorable. Let's go on and talk about these. Okay, choosing the best investment option, implementation, and monitoring. Okay, so let's look at the first one. Capital budgeting, ladies and gentlemen, is a method that helps the business evaluate, compare, and select the right investment project based on financial viability, based on risk, and whether it aligns with the long-term goals of that business. Now, usually, companies use several different methods. The first one is the payback period. Yes, it's simple English. Payback period. How long will it take for me to get my money back plus profit? The payback period measures the time it takes for the project to recover the initial investment through revenue. Okay? So how do you recover your initial investment? It's spent $100,000. How long do you need to recover $100,000 from your profit to pay back your original investment? Remember, if you do $100,000 in sales a year, that's not payback, because out of that $100,000 sales, you still have to pay for materials, for goods and salaries, rent and expenses. So how much have you got after all your expenses, which become your payback? So if you can only generate $5,000 a year to pay back to your investment of $500,000, that means 500,000 at $5,000 a year, payback period will be too long. Do you understand that, everyone? Yes or no? Good. All right, let's look at this. Okay, formula, payback period equals the initial investment divided by annual cash flow. Very simple formula, guys. $400,000 investment generating $100,000 per year. Payback period is 4 years. Projects with shorter paybacks are good projects, obviously. Let's talk about discounted payback period. The discounted payback period is similar to payback period, but incorporates time value of money, discounting future cash inflows before calculating recovery. Remember, in future, the money you earn will be worth less due to inflation, right? So we need to discount it. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Okay, good. So this method provides a more accurate measure, and this is the method that most big companies use today. Okay, so this is discounted payback period equals time when cash inflow is, okay, divided by the initial investment, and I'll explain this formula. I don't want you to worry about the formula. I just want you to understand the principle. So you know what payback period is under normal circumstances. The discounted payback formula is simply taking into account cost of inflation. Okay, so here we go. Example, $50,000 investment, $15,000 a year coming in revenue, and you estimate that the cost of inflation will be 10%. So the discount rate has to be 10%. Discounted payback slightly longer than 3.8 years. So what does this mean? $15,000 a year over, okay, 50,000 was the investment, 15,000 a year, 3 years is 45,000. So you need about 3.5 years. If you add the 10% on top of that, or the discount of 10% due to inflation, that will take you to some 3.8 years to pay it back. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Good. Net present value. Net present value calculates the value of the present value expected of cash inflow minus outflows, considering the time value of money. NPV indicates a project will generate value exceeding its cost, while a negative NPV suggests that you should not proceed with the investment. What does NPV do? Remember, net present value. What does it do? It helps companies compare two different projects or investments of different sizes over a different period of time to find out which one is more financially viable or profitable. Let's go through a quick example here. Okay. Example, $50,000 investment, $15,000 per year, inflow over 4 years at 10%. The NPV would be $5,740. Okay, which means it's acceptable. Net present value. Internal rate of return is the discount rate at which net present value of a project equals 0. It represents the expected rate of return and allows a comparison with the company's required return, what it needs to return. Now, IRR, or as I call it, is useful for ranking projects, especially when you're trying to decide between 3 different projects. You need to choose the one with the best internal rate of return. Okay, let's talk about this. Example, $100,000 investment, $30,000 per year over 5 years, 12%. The required rate equals 10%, so the project is acceptable. With this formula, you've determined that the investment rate of return is 12%. However, you only project 10% inflation or up to 10%. So if you can get a 12% return on investment, it's a good investment. If you could only get 9%, then it's a bad investment. If you could only get 10%, it would still be a bad investment. You should always hope for more. Okay, let's talk about the modified internal rate of return. Okay, this is when we're considering reinvestment at a realistic rate instead of assuming cash inflows are invested. Okay, now I don't want you to worry about modified rate of return because I don't think any of you are going to use it. But you should know that there is a formula called the modified investment rate of return. And usually, this provides a more accurate picture of projected profitability. It is especially used for long-term projects or when cash inflows go up and down offering managers a better estimate for decision making, they may want to recalculate their investment rate of return. And they might want to change something in their investment. Okay, does everybody understand that? Yes or no? For example, if they borrowed money to pay for the investment, they may want to reduce the debt to lower the cost over a period of time. Does everybody understand this? Yes or no? Okay. Example, $50,000 investment, 15,000 year inflow reinvested at 8%. That means if you reinvest it, depending on the changes you've made, your new investment rate of return will be 11%. Okay, but again, you will not get to use this for now. This only usually applies for multinational corporations or companies, medium-sized enterprise, where during the investment time, if the investment is over 5 or 10 years, somewhere along the line, they would consider modifying the internal rate due to funding or due to what other purposes they may encounter. Okay, all right. So hold on, guys. Where are we here? Okay, so let's go on. Okay, so next one here is what we call the profitability index. The profitability index, you need to know, this is very important. The profitability index measures the ratio of present value of future cash flows to initial investment. A PI greater than 1 indicates that you should go ahead with the project. Anything under 1, -1 or 0.9, you should not proceed with. This method helps in ranking the projects when capital is limited and ensures optimal allocation of your resource. Okay, so let's talk through one of these. Okay, so here we go. Formula, terminal value of cash inflows divided by present value of cash outflows has to be more than 1. So, example, $60,000 investment, present value of inflows is 75,000, then you would come up with 1.25, which is basically an increase on the investment, and that would be acceptable. Okay, does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Again, I don't expect you to understand these formulas and use them. I expect you to understand them and know what they are. So in future, if you need to use them, you'll have the PowerPoint, you can refer to them. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? You understand that, Michelle? Okay. Discounted cash flow. Discounted cash flow, DCF analysis, calculates the present value of all expected cash inflows and outflows of a project. It considers the time value of money, allowing managers to compare projects of varying size, duration, and risk. Okay, DCF is basically the basic ground of net present value and other methods, making it critical for companies to do financial planning before they make investment decisions. Remember, accurate cash flow forecasts and discount rates are crucial if you want your business to be able to survive after the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth year. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Example, $100,000 investment, 30,000 per year inflow revenue for 5 years at 10%. That means the net present value will be $16,000. DCF. Okay, let's go to equivalent annuity method. Now, again, the equivalent annuity method is not something that you would use It would only apply to major corporations or medium-sized enterprise with several investments in factories, machineries, and building. But just for you to know what equivalent annuity method is, basically, this equivalent annuity method converts the net present value into equal annual cash, enabling a comparison of projects with different lifespans. And this allows them to evaluate each of their projects they have and the lifespan of that project. Okay, so the formula here is there if you want to use it, but I don't think you'll be able to use it, but you should just be aware of it. You won't need to use it. All right. Okay. Equivalent annuity method. This is basically where you convert net present value into equal annual cash flows, enabling comparison of projects over different number of years and to compare their annuity method or the value of their annuity. Again, you won't have to worry about that unless you're modifying your present value or modifying your investment in some way. All right, so if we summarize this, because I think I don't want to bog you down with formula, I only want to give you the basic formulas which you need to understand and know that they exist. I don't expect you to use them, but as long as you know that they are formulas that help you in making business decisions. But if you need to use them, you should always ask your accountant or ask somebody like me for help. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Okay, so thorough analysis is something that you need to do. If you don't do thorough analysis and research, your capital budgeting method will fail. Okay, so this is a core requirement. Constraint analysis, you must actually look at what the constraints are. Let's talk about um, throughput analysis, okay, or throughput analysis as I call it. This evaluates the projects based on a system-wide output, what is going to come out, rather than individual cost savings. A factory line bottleneck can be resolved by investing in faster machinery. Overall, throughout throughput increases, boosting profitability, and more than investing in unconstrained areas. So what we call throughput invest analysis means analyzing based on a system-wide output. So how can I increase output long term in order to make the whole process more efficient and to increase profit across the organization? Constraint analysis. Well, constraint analysis is basically what it says. Okay, constraint analysis identifies operational or market limitations, selects projects that truly improve performance. For example, a restaurant with limited seating may expand the dining space rather than adding more kitchen equipment because they need more people in the restaurant the small kitchen can still handle. Does everybody understand this? Yes or no? Put your hands up, please. Yes or no? Michelle? Sibel? Jennifer? Jennifer? Jennifer Garcia, do you understand that? Okay, good. All right, guys, let's go on. Okay. All right, so let's go on. We've got here cost avoidance analysis. This method evaluates projects based on future costs that can be eliminated. For example, investing in automated accounting software avoids hiring additional bookkeepers. Savings are considered as a return on investment. Okay, if you have accounting software, you only need one bookkeeper. You don't need to hire two or three to keep your accounts on paper. The real options analysis. Okay, real options analysis is actually a simple one, even though that the name may be confusing. But real options analysis is very much a simple formula which you can actually use. Just one moment, please. Okay, real options analysis is basically when you evaluate the management's flexibility under certain conditions or in times of uncertainty, allowing project delay, expansion, or abandonment. Okay, a tech company invests in a facility, but can delay expansion if market conditions are unfavorable. Flexibility adds value beyond the net present value. But again, real option analysis is something you have to be very careful about. You have to understand that this should be a last resort. You should not try to basically try to, you know, create uncertainty. Unless there is real uncertainty, then you shouldn't have to worry about real option analysis. Well, companies that didn't plan for uncertainty with COVID-19 suffered. So long term, there should be some thought about it, but it shouldn't be something that you allow to hinder your business. Just one moment, please. Hold on, guys. Okay, let me just fix this, guys. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so where have I gone here? Just hold on, guys. Something's happening here. Hold on. Okay, guys, 1 minute, would you? Just let me get these slides fixed. Hold on. Just 1 moment, please, guys. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's share screen again. Just 1 moment, please. Okay, all right, here we go. All right, guys. So we're talking about what is working capital. Can you see that, Eugenia? All right. So, what is working capital? We've talked about money. We've talked about having the right money or money to run your business. Well, working capital, ladies and gentlemen, is the money you need to actually keep your business running. And technically speaking, when you start a business, you should have work working capital that will cover you for at least the first 3 years. Some people will tell you having 3 months or 6 months working capital is enough. It's not. You should always plan to have working capital or a lifeblood for first year. Now, if you have it for 3 years, it's good, but mandatory would be the first year. All right. So you need that money to pay salaries, to pay rental, to buy inventory. This is basically to finance short-term operations. Proper working capital is crucial for a company's overall financial health and operation. The most straightforward formula for determining a company's working capital is working capital means current assets minus current liabilities. How much money do you have minus all the liabilities that you have to pay immediately? What are you left with? Current assets includes cash, accounts receivable, inventory, and other assets the company expects to be converted to cash or used up within a year. All right, so now let's go to the next part there. And the next part there, of course, talks about liabilities. Current liabilities include short-term debts, accounts payable, and other short-term financial obligations. And you might say, well, why do I need to take these into account? I'll just look at them as they come up, because my business will be running, I'll make money. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, but you see, you cannot predict the market. So you need to know what these are estimated at, and you should be able to cover the first 12 months. All right, so let's go on. Okay, the next part here is solvency and liquidity. You need to make sure that you have enough money for the company to stay solvent and be able to meet its short-term debt repayments, be able to pay electricity, suppliers, taxes, loan repayments, salaries. Operational continuity. You need to have enough cash to meet day-to-day expenses. If you're a restaurant, you need to buy raw materials to cook so you can sell food. You need to have access to financing if you need it. Usually, if you want to borrow money from your family, it's probably easy. If you want to borrow money from a bank, from a money lender, from an investor, you need to actually show them your working capital. You need to show them your profit and loss sheets. You need to show them how much you invested, how much business you've generated, and what your forecasts are. Okay, profitability, you need to show some sort of profit record, especially if you're going to a lender to invest in the business. Efficient working capital can lead to improved profitability. So if you have the working capital for the first year, it means that any income that comes in has a better chance of showing a profit. But if you've run out of working income and everything that comes in goes to cover expenses, you're going to end up with zero profitability. Positive business reputation is something that you build through positive business reputation, through paying your bills on time, making sure your bank is repaid on time if you have bank loans, making sure that you pay your suppliers on time. Because the last thing you want to do is a supplier to say, no more credit, you have to pay cash for everything. You don't have cash, you can't get materials or raw materials, your business will come to a stop. And if you don't pay the bill to one supplier, then the same with the second supplier and the third supplier, eventually no one in the market will supply you. So positive business reputation is critical. Okay. All right. So key components of working capital management is you need to make sure that you maintain balance. You need to make sure that you have enough cash to support the daily operation needs of the business. Do not put too much excessive money into buying stock because the factory offered you a 5% discount and you buy $1 million worth of stock, which you might not sell for 5 years. Make sure you only invest in the stock you need to sell for the next 3 to 6 months. Make sure you're aware that stock may have a use by date. Make sure that your market or your buying pattern, your customer buying trend justifies you buying that much stock. Here are some important elements in this process. You have to have very good inventory management in making sure you keep control of what stock you have. You must make sure you control accounts receivable to make sure your customers are paying you for stock, and you manage which customers you allow to buy on credit. If a customer can't pay you immediately, cash on delivery, and you want to give them credit, make sure they're able to pay you. Okay, you need to make sure you manage your payments. Make sure that you settle your suppliers on time, and make sure that you're able to forecast every month how much cash you need to pay your expenses, and do not go and spend the cash on capital investments. And by the end of the month, you have to close the business because you can't pay your immediate expenses. Effective working capital management requires a keen understanding of a business operations, what you do, how you do it, the cost of doing it, the current market conditions, your market, how many markets, who are your potential customers, and what is the average sales revenue every month. You need to be ready for seasonal fluctuations. If you sell clothing, you might sell more during summer because you sell t-shirts than you sell during winter. You have to be prepared for seasonal fluctuations. You also have to be prepared for economic fluctuations. Say the cost of living goes up, people have less to spend on your merchandise. It means that you may have to reduce your prices. You need to be able to deal with that. Operational inefficiencies or inefficiencies. You need to be aware that sometimes a factory machinery may break down. Sometimes the machinery you have might become very slow or inadequate compared to that of your competitors. And this may hamper or slow down your operation, production of goods in time to sell to your customer. So you need to make sure you have enough working capital in the event that you have to improve your technology or buy new machines. Okay, effective working capital management, ladies and gentlemen, requires a proactive approach. You need to continuously monitor your income, your spending, and your cash reserves. You need to actually make sure that these practices are in place and that you review them on a regular basis to ensure that you can meet your ongoing monthly operational costs, and also be able to take in any unexpected cost of breakdown, etc. So, what are some strategies that best practice? Just bear with me for a minute, guys. Okay, what are some strategies that you need to actually understand as best practices to manage working capital? What are they? Well, they're very simple ones, guys. They are to conduct regular working capital audits on a regular basis, assess the status of your current assets and liabilities, understand how much cash you have, and whether you need to invest in any more capital expenditure to keep the business working, but don't do it unless you need it. And this happens through regular working capital audits. Optimize inventory levels. Make sure you actually implement a just-in-time inventory system. That means you only hold enough stock to actually cater to market demands over 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months, depending on what the lead time is for you to get more stock from the factory or manufacture more stock. Regularly review your inventory turnover ratios. Make sure you understand how much stock you're holding, how many items you can sell per month, and make sure you have enough just for that month. If your supplier says, I can deliver in 1 month, you need to make sure you have enough stock for 1 month, then you order enough stock for the following month, but you don't keep 6 months of stock in your warehouse. Okay, just in time inventory is a very, very important strategy, but the JIT will depend on the lead time from the factory. If your lead time is 2 months, you have to keep 2 months. If your lead time is 1 month, you only have to keep 1 month. Remember, if your product comes from China and the factory requires 1 month to make it, 2 weeks for it to reach by ship, then you need to actually, your JIT probably should be 2 months or 2.5 months. Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Good. You need to streamline your accounts recoverable or receivable. Make sure that you have clear credit policies for your customers. Make sure you offer discounts and incentives to your big customers, corporate customers, to encourage them to pay early. Implement efficient invoicing systems. Do not send out invoices late. Follow up on outstanding accounts to make sure you collect revenue diligently and promptly. At the same time, make sure you pay your suppliers and manage your accounts payable efficiently. And the same thing, negotiate a discount with your suppliers. Say, if I pay you on delivery, what's the discount? If I pay you 7 days, 14 days, or 30 days, what discount do I get? Optimize your cash, reduce your operating expenses, use technology. Always, any business today should use a financial accounting package. They're so cheap, you can actually buy them online. You can actually, in some countries, get help from government to implement accounting software. You have to, on a regular basis, continue looking for a larger customer base. Always look to grow your market and bring in new demographics of customers. Always diversify your customer base and try to target new customers with better or more needed products or services. Establish a contingency fund. Even if your business is profitable, don't go and spend it all on capital expenditure. Maybe hold money in reserve as a contingency fund in the event that you face unforeseen challenges like COVID-19, where there's a lockdown, etc., and you can't generate revenue but still have to pay rent, electricity, and salaries. Refine procurement processes. Make your your purchasing processes less susceptible to fraud or to overpricing or corrupt practices by, agents upping the price, or suppliers under delivering quantity or overcharging you. Make sure you have more than one supplier. Make sure you get competitive quotes. Make sure you negotiate tough contracts. Get maximum discounts. Procurement is the base of any successful business. Provide continuous training for your staff on how to procure effectively. Provide continuous training to your staff on determining profitability on the products before you market them, what your margins should be on products, what is your cost of goods sold that's acceptable. Always have your R&D department looking at future products, improvements. Don't wait till your market crashes. You should always monitor your external factors, guys. What do I mean by external factors, Yaneng? External factors is make sure you know what your competitors are doing. Make sure you keep an eye on people's spending habits. Watch the market, see what people are spending. How much of their disposable income are they prepared to spend on watches, clothing, or luxury goods? If you are selling clothing, you are selling watches, you are selling luxury goods, you should understand the economic factors which actually affect the customers who you target that can afford your product. Let me give you an example. Jennifer owns a bookshop that sells comics for school kids. If due to the US taxes or US tariffs, buying magazines from the US suddenly doubles in price, and the magazine that Jennifer buys no longer costs her $5. It now costs her 10 US dollars. Before she bought it for 5, she sold it for 12. Now she's buying it for 10. She has to sell it for 22. Now, what's going to happen? Will her customers still be able to afford her product, or is she going to have another product in place? Do you understand that, guys? Yes or no? Do you understand that, Jennifer? Jennifer? Jennifer Garcia, do you understand that? Jennifer? Okay, all right. All right, do you understand that, Lynn? Okay. Remember, external factors could be increases in cost. It could be tariffs causing an increase in purchasing price. It could be a change in government regulations, which stops you from selling your product. All of these are external factors. On a regular basis, you should be reassessing your business model to make sure you remain competitive. Okay. Leverage financing options. Okay, don't go and borrow money unless you need it, and make sure you get proper advice. Monitor your key performance indicators on a regular basis and always look for improvement in streamlining operations, in streamlining your customer service, in improving your sales team's capabilities, improving your online sales reach. Okay, always look for new opportunities. Okay, guys, so what we've covered today is basically a wrap of how businesses should look at financial risk, how businesses should look at financial strategy. When we say capital investment, capital budgeting, that's the core of managing the business's finances. Would everybody agree with that? Could you put your hands up if you agree? Okay. Does everybody agree on 3 fundamental questions? Let's talk about them. Number 1, do you all agree that people are your most valuable asset? Yes or no? Put your hand up. People are your most, I want to see hands. Come on, hands. Everybody. People are your most valuable asset. Jacob, do you agree? Put your hand up. Very good. Okay, number 1. Number 2, when you start a business must have a working cash flow for at least 1 year. Put your hand up. All right. If you don't have a capital reserve to cover your operational expenses for 1 year, there is a very high potential that you'll go out of business before the year's over. Understand that? Yes or no? Number 3, every business must have ongoing research and development. You should be constantly targeting new products, new innovations, better quality products to retain the market. Otherwise, if you don't do that, after 5 or 7 years, you will need to either go out of business or rebrand because people are sick of buying the same old product. Do you understand that? Yes or no? Look at McDonald's. Look at Kentucky Fried Chicken. McDonald's has been in business for more than 30 years. Why has McDonald's survived? It's because in all its markets every month it comes up with a new seasonal promotion, a new burger, a new taste every month or every 6 weeks. So customers keep coming back, even though their regular product stays there, but they bring in seasonal new products. They keep their customer addicted. Does everybody understand this? Yes or no? Do you all understand this? Put your hands up, please. Jenny Rose? Very good. Okay. All right. So moving on from that, we all understand that a failure to practice capital budgeting could mean that you buy things that you don't need, you have a shortage of cash flow, and your business will fold. That means the machine you just bought will not be able to operate because you can't pay the rent. You have nowhere to put it. Do you all understand this? Yes or no? Good. I hope that you found today's lecture helpful. Remember, I know that the formulas may be out of, you don't, you find them too hard to operate. That's because you've never used them. Once you start using the formula, they become like when you went, remember when you went to school and learned algebra? It was hard first, right? Trigonometry was hard. Um, Equations were hard. Okay. Percentages were hard. Okay. But once you use these formulas, they become like 1 plus 2 equals 3. Okay. Now, if you want to use the formula for the first time, need help, just WhatsApp me or message me. Does everybody understand that? But as long as you have the basic knowledge of these strategies, so if you apply for a job and somebody says to you, what do you understand about keeping a business profitable? You can say that for a business to be profitable, we have to consider financial strategy, capital expenditure, ongoing expenditure. How do we manage it? How do we manage a return on our investments? We need to understand what the net present value of our investments is. Do you understand what I mean by that, guys? Yes or no? Okay. My co-host, Miss Medina, can you share the link to today's material, please? Are you there, Medina? I think Medina has put the link in the chat box. Did everybody get the link to today's material? Yes or no? Fantastic. Can everybody say thank you to Miss Medina? Come on, everybody, wave to Miss Medina. Come on, look at her. Poor girl. Wave to her. Miss Medina, I think they love you more than they love me now, mate. Okay. Have you enjoyed my lecture today, guys? I know it's a bit boring, and usually we have more fun, but today we're talking about financial management. And if I don't teach you this, you'll say that Wally hasn't taught you. And let me tell you, I hate financial management, but I need to know it because it's part of what I teach. But let me assure you, by understanding basic principles of financial management, it will give you a better understanding of how to run a business successfully. Do you understand that, guys? Yes or no? Now, in future, I will arrange a biz talk with one of my colleagues who is a finance expert that will show you how to actually calculate profit and loss on a business, how to actually calculate depreciation, etc., on a business, and they'll give you working numbers, examples, and let you do them. Is that what everybody wants to learn? Yes or no? Yes, put your hands up. I promise one of my colleagues will teach you that in the coming weeks, as long as I've covered the fundamentals of starting a business and keeping it profitable. But ongoing formulas, depreciation, and all of that, I will arrange a lesson with together with one of my accounting colleagues, and we'll go through that with you. All right? Does everybody understand that? Yes or no? Okay, our next biz talk is going to go to a totally new subject, which I haven't done before. And we're going to talk about upcoming markets and new product opportunities and market opportunities around the world, new industries. Does everybody want to learn about that? Yes or no? Okay, that will be our next biz talk, which will be number 144, I think. Am I right, Medina? 144? Okay, all right, great. How can I pay for exam fee? Show Markine. Miss Medina will message you. Medina, could you reply to that, please? Do you have her name? It's in the chat box, Medina, in Zoom 1. Can you reply to her, please? Thank you. Okay, also, Ma'am Medina, thank you so much. I will extend your thanks to her. Miss Medina, you're getting thank you messages in Zoom 10, ma'am. Okay? All right. From me and Medina, thank you for being my BizTalk students today. I hope you've enjoyed my BizTalk. I look forward to seeing you in BizTalk 144 with a much more enjoyable session, and we'll go into some much more exciting things. But today was very important to all of you. Thank you, everybody. From me, Wally Rowder, to all of you. I love you all. Remember, the most important thing in your business careers is you. What do I mean? Come on, you should all know what this means. You believing in yourself. Everybody, say after me. I believe in myself. Everyone, I believe in myself. Hurry up, everybody. Everybody, I believe in myself. I can. I will be successful. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to my co-host. Thank you, Miss Medina. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I'll see you at the next BizTalk. Thank you. God bless you all. Good night, everyone.